Right into committee reports, education. For those of you who have the agenda in front of you, there are a couple of motions for, sorry, education. The field trip additions are end-of-year trips for the high school. They have not been finalized yet. We just wanted to get those locations on the list, just in case that was the choice of the students to go. I think one is the Poconos, and I believe the other is Dorney Park. Number two, the girls' track team, if you read my recap today. We're running into the difficulty with a second adult for the trip to Virginia Beach. We're still working on that. There's a chance that motion will be pulled from the agenda for next week. So that's sort of two expulsions on the agenda. Both have been settled through agreements with the family, and there are no non-voting education agenda. Are there any questions on anything under education? The issue has been, I am uncomfortable sending one adult and one student on an out-of-state trip. We were looking for a second adult to accompany the two people on the trip, and we have not been able to find one, mostly due because it is going to get back late tomorrow night after the event.
So there's no assistant track coach?
There is an assistant track coach. They are not able to go for some reason that they were asked.
So this is for the track team?
This is for one girl who's on the track team who qualified for an event in Virginia Beach.
And when are they leaving?
They were slated to leave tomorrow morning, compete, and then come back after the event. I don't know what time they're racing or competing, but it was a one-day event.
So is the employee of the district?
The employee is a
I'm sorry,
teacher.
excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Is the co-coach an employee of the district?
You mean the assistant coach?
Yes.
That I don't know. The coach is an employee of the district and is willing to go with the female student on the trip.
So right, so the coach is okay. Does she have an assistant coach / co-coach?
There is, I believe there is an assistant coach, but for some reason that person was unable or unwilling to attend the trip.
Does she work for the district?
I don't know that. I'd have to find out. Can you find out, Stephanie? Do you know?
She does. She was just hired this week.
Oh, there you go.
And she said, no, she's not going on a trip for a student in the district.
No, that didn't happen. But she was just installed probably like Wednesday. And she is a teacher in the district.
So she works for the district, she gets a supplement from the district, but she doesn't want to go do her supplemental.
I can't say that she said no. I think it's because she was onboarded late. She was onboarded late.
person is willing, we can find that out, but I don't know off the top of my head when they're competing.
I'll email her now.
So we're gonna get the information, and then, I mean, I don't want the student not to be able to, participate in the finals for track meet, because an employee doesn't wanna go. So, what I'm asking is, because the coach will be there with the young lady, we just want a second adult with them.
I know what I think it's fine. I think I'll email her today. The one coach was asking about the PD. She was afraid she was gonna miss a PD.
Okay.
She'll go. I'll just.
Well, my understanding, she's the head coach. It's the second person that we're having trouble with. The PD's not the issue.
Wait, can you hear?
Yeah, that's okay. We appreciate the effort, but it's,
So, okay, so now I'm confused.
Okay.
So is the coach that doesn't wanna go, or is it?
no,
the
the coach is willing to go.
Okay,
It's the
the assistant-
second adult that I had requested, because this is a situation we don't put staff or kids in schools. We
Correct.
don't let an individual, an adult, an
Right.
individual kid in a classroom. We avoid that for the host of problems that it could cause. So I had asked for a second adult, which the high school, Mr. Alexander, and all the administration attempted to acquire. As of about 4:30 this afternoon, or whenever I sent that recap, we were not able to get a second adult for this trip.
How is
So
it
it's
gonna-
not the coach. The coach is fine, the
No, I'm
kid
talking
is
about
fine.
the assistant
The
coach.
assistant, I only know that they are either unwilling or unable, and I don't know which it is. I was only told that she can't go.
How are they getting there?
We usually use Sterling Limousine for that.
So
What time
it-
they leaving tomorrow?
I don't know, it's early in the morning.
it's not overnight?
They are not asking for an overnight trip. No, it's a down and back
They
in
might
one
go
day.
down, back
So
up.
they'll be more alone on the bus than they would be at the track meet, or?
Technically, there would be a driver from Sterling, which we've used before, that shouldn't be an issue. But while they are at the meet, while there should be other people around, I can't guarantee you that they will not be alone. Should they be alone? Absolutely not. But again, this is a situation that we try to avoid in our schools. And I don't want to cost this kid the national event either, but we try to get a second adult. If we want to, board wants to allow not a second adult on the trip, we can have that discussion. If we want to make other arrangements, we have a volunteer in the crowd, I'm willing to take all angles. We are still trying to work on it, but we are running out of time. Rich, can you step out and see if the parent has been contacted by either coach or athletic director?
So the athletic director can't go either?
The athletic director has stated he can't go because of what time.
It's three, it's
The
three,
trip
it's an
is
athletic
returning.
director and two assistant athletic directors. The athletic director doesn't even go on any of the trips. So let's be honest, he needs to be going down anyway. Today is gonna be truth night. So you were telling me a student is gonna miss out on finals, track finals, because
I would be very curious to find out why the athletic director isn't having this discussion. Not to be that person, but shouldn't this be something the athletic director is bringing to us and resolving? Isn't that the point of the athletic director?
hold on, I'm sorry, say it again, Teresa.
Could you please give me the exact date of the event and the
Yes,
correct address?
It's tomorrow.
it's tomorrow, Friday.
That part's confirmed. I would have to get you the address. I don't have it in front of me. But I can get that as soon as there's a break in the action here at the meeting.
Michelle, what was your question?
Forgive me, I have no voice. I was under the impression that the athletic director was the one who arranges these type of things and brings it up to administration. Having worked through the scenarios to get this done, I'm not clear as to why we're scrounging to find someone when that is literally their job. That's my question.
Yes. He's been working on it. Yes,
And he's not gonna
fr-
go.
from the beginning. Jeremiah?
If you can't find anybody, I'll go.
All right.
Make sure it's chief of police.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Jeremiah. So now we're going to switch gears for a second. When Mr. Sharon comes back in, we'll give him a new set of directions. Thank you, sir.
He said 1 minute.
Who said one?
Sharon. But
Oh.
we can move forward.
Wow, he's walking in now, I think. Mr. Sharon? Okay, all right, we'll get to you in a little bit. Anything else about education?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, did we always put the employee's number on when there's, leave of absence
We on education, right? We still on education.
and, this is under education.
No, that would be under HR. We started doing that a little while ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So if that answer suffices, we started doing it a little while ago. If you want to ask again when we get there, that's no problem either.
We did it a while ago?
We started it a while ago. We didn't always do it.
I don't remember, but yeah, I'm gonna ask the question.
Okay.
I have a question. What is,
Actually, can I pause for a second? Rich, we have a volunteer. Can you contact Lamar and see if we can get this together? Okay. Yep, fair enough. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Barley.
oh, that's okay. So my question is, the field trips, what's the last date?
Mr. Sharon? So he didn't register the young lady yet?
We're checking, we're on the phone with the coaches right now to see. We're, I believe, waiting for approval, which makes me believe we can still register, so it's calling right now.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Barley, go ahead.
I just was wondering the last date, that you could put in for a field trip for this year.
So by board approval, it would in theory have to be in whatever the Thursday meeting in May is, if it
Okay.
wasn't already on the list.
Okay,
So
thanks.
that would, to me, be the 23rd of May,
Okay,
if I'm counting Thursdays correctly.
all right, thank you.
Anything else under education? All right, Mr. Butler, I'm going to turn this over to you, and then I'm going to step in the back to see.
Can you hear me, Ms. Harris Johnson?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. You see if I can.
You're, I'm doing well. Okay, good evening, everyone. This evening is the first preliminary presentation for the 24-25 general fund budget process. At the last meeting, I just quickly reviewed some of the timelines and the due dates for the Department of Education. So this presentation will cover, as you can see, here's what we know. There'll be the 24-25 budget expense challenges. There'll be a slide on the 23-24 budgeted expenditures. 24-25 preliminary expenses by object code, and 23-24, that should say 24-25, my apologies, general fund budget timeline, and then what will be on the next report. So this is, here's what we know, and this is just covering student enrollment, the charter school budget as it's preliminarily being reported, and the PSERS retirement rates. 24-25, we're projecting 4,067 kids in district. We have approximately 618 kids in charter schools. And that will be revised for my next report. Charter school budget amount, last year it was at 12.5. This year, the initial cost is going to be $16,593,679, and I'll explain that as we go along. District staff is in excess of 610 employees. Public school retirement rates, you can see last year we were at 34%. It did decrease to 33.9. However, next year it is projected to go, will go to 34.72, and then it will gradually increase in the years after that as well. So here are the challenges, and these are just typical challenges that we experience in Southeast Delco. So we have charter school tuition, special education costs, PSERS retirement rates, transportation for special placements in charter schools, and then we have the contractual obligations, which is salary and benefits, and that's primarily 85 to 87% of the general fund budget. This isn't moving. Nope, I went too fast. If you don't mind, I'm going to come around to that because I can control it better from that side. Okay, so this slide is the 23-24 budget as we know it this year, and this is just as to be used as a point of reference as we go to do the preliminary proposed budget for 24-25. As you can see, this particular budget has highlighted areas. That's the salaries, benefits, and then the other purchase services is around what we had budgeted for charter schools. Thank you. Doesn't even work.
No, you turned it off, it was off.
Oh.
It's closer to you.
Okay, this particular slide is just showing what I know as of now, 24-25 budgeted expenses by object code. So this is purchase professional and technical services, purchase property services, other purchase services, supplies, property, other objects, and other uses of funds. Starting from the bottom, other uses of funds is payments and related to our debt service. That would be the principal portion. Other objects, primarily debt service, interest payments. Property is just that, just school district property and repairs to different equipment items that we have. Supplies are just all over district supplies for facilities and maintenance, transportation, instructional. That is just, that covers all the district supplies. Same thing with other purchase services. You will note in this category, there is an increase of $4,092,679. That is related to charter schools. We know that there is a charter school moving into the district. So in preparation for those payments, I've allocated that amount of money to that line item. So for, let's see here. So their charter school payments are broken up into regular ed and then special education. So we have regular ed, I have it at $2,283,323, and special education, charter school tuition is $1,809,356. So that's a total of $4,092,679, and you can see that there. Then moving up, you will see that there's a $1 million decrease in contracted services. That $1 million is related to ESSER's funding. In addition, under purchase professional and technical services is a decrease of $3,048,000. Again, that is related to ESSER's funding. You will recall that ESSER's funding ends, the money has to be spent that we have by September 30th of 2024. So for the 24-25 budget year, I will not be putting any anticipated expenditures in that fiscal year. I will also say the other side of that is because there aren't any funds budgeted for ESSER's, there won't be any revenue showing on that side. Now, the next point, if you look at that change column, you will see that it has a total increase of $44,632, which to look at this document doesn't seem that bad. In the other categories, you will see I try each year to keep things flat. So that's why you see some of the 0% increases, because we always use that target as our goal. And that has been that way since, for probably the last 4 years or so. I'll report out in more detail in my next presentation at the next committee of the whole, but the negative $3,048,000, again, I said that's the reduction of ESSER's, and the same as the $1 million in purchase property services. The increase you see, again, is charter school funding. So here's the difference that we'll have to have further discussion about. With the ESSER's money, the ESSER's expenditures, we were getting money in from the Commonwealth to cover those expenditures. So essentially, it's a $0 amount impact, because we're spending the money, we get the money back. With the charter school expenditure, it's not the same scenario. So that's a new expenditure, again, based on the new charter school that's opening here. And there isn't any revenue that's going to cover that, similar to what would be if it were a federal program. So that's just a conversation that we have to have in the future. Are there any questions thus far? And this is just the timeline of what's going on, what will happen moving forward. So tonight, we're covering the 300s to 900s. These categories will be covered in all of the future presentations because we will continue to revisit, modify, and come up with different solutions to make sure that we have the best and most responsible budget document for the 24-25 school year. The next presentation will cover the Object Codes 100 salaries and Object Code 200 employee benefits. And then those slides I showed you before, presented before, will be modified to include those dollar amounts. And again, this document is going to be changing and revised as we have future conversations. And these are the next meetings. We already did the February 15th, which was just an overview. Today is the 14th. April 18th is another work session. The 25th, we have to, by guidelines, adopt a proposed final budget, but that is not the final document. It's our best guess at that time. But by the guidelines of Act 1, we have to approve and adopt a proposed final budget. And then May 16th, the 23rd, June 20th, and 27th, they will be all work sessions. The board may, at their, if they choose to, they can schedule meetings in between any of these meetings if there's a need to have any other additional discussions. And of course, those meetings will be public meetings as well. Any questions? Okay, I'll just come back around. Thank you. Thank you, sir. There you go. I have one other item that is not on my agenda for this evening, but it is a purchase, and I'll put this in a board update, a purchase for Time Clock Plus. Our time clock system, our biometric equipment is antiquated and is not functioning properly, and oftentimes we're having, different departments are having to manually modify people's time, employees' time, and we're trying to get away from that. So that, you will see it in the board update on the agenda for next month, or for next week rather, has an estimated cost of a little under $34,000. Thank you. So what I have that has a impact on the budget, and it's built into this document, is that we have costs that are associated with early intervention of students. And so each year it runs around $2 million. So for the last couple years, it's been pretty much the same amount of money. So this year we got the invoice in, and or the anticipated cost, and it's $1,903,000, and I have in the budget $2 million. So it's been that way. So it's pretty consistent. But that's again a special education cost for that programming.
Thank you, Mr. Butler.
I will when Kevin presents. We're getting closer.
Okay. Human Resources. Thank you.
So under the does this work? Under the human resources, you'll see we have some resignations there, but please note the first person for the health and physical education teacher, he decided to take another offer. We had him, but he decided to go with another offer, so we put him on here as a resignation because he was listed as a new hire for February. So really, we just have 2 resignations that are professionals. And the second one is because that person's not returning from a leave of absence. Then we have 3 classified resignations listed there. And with that, we did hire a professional teacher for our upcoming 24-25 school year. We hired 5 classified employees. They're all starting this school year. And then we have a supplemental teacher that was certified and now will be our 5th grade teacher at Delcroft for the school year 2024-2025. So if you look on page 4, you'll see we have 7 leave of absences. And the reason we list the employee ID number is for HIPAA purposes. We don't want the names of the employees listed out there and the reasons why. So that's why we just put the employee ID there. Okay.
Can I add something? I think previously, Ms. Woodfolk, before we started putting the number, that line was blank. We've never had the employee's name in those leaves of absences. Does that answer your question from earlier?
Mike, please.
I guess so, but what about if they, okay, these are what, leave of absence?
Leave of absences, FMLAs, no sabbaticals are on there, but medical reasons, those are some of the reasons why we have some of these employees out.
So if you look at the status, that would tell you why they're out, the 1, 2, 3, 4th thing down on each number.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that helpful?
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I don't have a presentation like Mr. Butler has, but I do have hands-on over there. If you see the balloon decorations that are there, okay. All right. And you did see the yard signs out there too. You know, we're like, all for Southeast Delco School District, come work for us. So we had a job fair this Tuesday. We had 17 people attend. Those weren't the employees that came through. Thank you for showing up. We had 3 people that were hired from that event. We had 1 professional teacher hired for the 2024-2025 school year, and we had 2 support staffs hired that will be starting next month. Yep. So again, we advertised on social media, we had the yard signs, we put a couple signs at the Wawa, and then we went to different schools and we advertised that way. We advertised on Indeed, we advertised on LinkedIn, and we utilized the PowerSchool Talent Ed HR system that we have to reach all like 6,000 applicants, even if they weren't active in the system. We send something out like we're hiring, if you look on the table, you know, the whole we're hiring yard signs. We sent them that picture and advertised, you know, come work for us. We also kind of pinpoint some of our benefits. We want to be competitive because we found out that a lot of districts don't have a professional development fund to have tuition reimbursement for the teachers to continue their education. So when we go to our upcoming job fair at the DCIU on the 20th, we're definitely going to have a lot of advertisement that, hey, come to our table, come work for us because look what we have that they don't have. All right? So I want to say special thanks to Leanne Hudson, Megan Junta, Cassandra Willis, and the DCIU for attending. We actually had, and IS, we actually had tech support set up, laptops at the front, and a lot of the applicants went online and they actually applied in the room. And then we also had spot on, in the back we had tables set up for food services, bus depot, human resources, and special education, and we did on-spot interviews, and that's how we were able to acquire and interview and hire 3 people that day. So So we're really excited about our job there. Any questions?
No, I'm just gonna ask you to give Ms. Harris Johnson a call. 'Cause she can't,
Right now?
not right now, but later, because she couldn't really hear you on that mic.
Oh, okay.
So anyone who comes to the mic, please. Ms. Barley, can you pass them your mic? If someone has to come to the podium and speak, so Ms. Harris Johnson, okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to take number 13 under Human Resources. Board members, there is a one-page sheet coming around. I already did send you this revised security agreement on email. This is the only page in that agreement that's changing. The agreement was passed in the summer, but there was an intention that did not make it to the written page. On the left-hand side of this paper, you see language that says school police, truancy officer, night security staff, security staff. Below those, they are levels of security that we have in our district. Below those, you see language such as substitute or probationary rate, wage rate 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15. The language in the agreement that was passed does not say what is in front of you. It has language that's called above wage rate 1, above wage rate 2. This is old language from the Federation agreement that somehow made it into the security agreement. Not anybody's fault, it just ended up there. Nothing in the agreement is changing except the following. The left-hand column where you're reading wage rate and the numbers is the only thing that's changing if you choose to revise it. Again, the old version just said wage rate. The new version, which was the intention of the meet and discuss with the security group, was to make some accommodation for people who have been here for years of service. This is what this document attempts to do. If you do not revise it, the fallout of that, and I'm going to use Sean Payne in the back because he's in the back and he's in my eye line, is that right now Sean Payne makes a rate. And he's been here, how many years, Sean? 16. If we were to hire a new Sean Payne or another Sean Payne, they would make exactly the same amount based on the agreement that was approved in the summer. That wasn't our side's intention, that was certainly not their side's understanding. So what this will do is it changes the wording, and then we will take a look at who needs to be on the right step. Now, for the board's sake and financially, most of our security staff is relatively new and it will affect few people. But there will be some people that need to be changed on where they are based on what was the intent of the meet and discuss in the security meet and discuss it during the summer. Any questions on that?
This is for the security, so, and you're talking about the contract, correct?
Correct. There's an approved contract that, in my opinion, has the wrong wording in it on this page.
Okay, but I don't have a copy of. Well, no, I didn't get an email.
Okay.
So, I like to get an email because, I like to review it before I vote on it.
Okay. So not a problem, I can send the email again. The reason I printed this one page is because this is the only thing changing from the agreement that's already been approved. That's why I gave you a hard copy of just this page. If you want a hard copy of the whole thing, not a problem, I will get you one.
Yeah, can you give me a hard copy?
Yep, not a
of the,
problem. Yeah. Yes, this page is in the revised document that I sent, but I will send it again and give you a hard copy.
Okay.
But not with this wording. Yes, yes, I'm just changing the wording. We are just changing the wording.
So just to clarify, it's just the names of the rates that are changing, not the rates?
Yes, so for example,
The names of the rates.
so for example, under school police, where it says wage rate 0 to 5 years, I believe in the approved agreement, it just says wage rate. And in what I handed you, where it says WR 6 to 10, I believe it says either above wage rate 1 or above wage rate 2. That language was never intended for the security group. In fact, it was removed from the Federation. I almost knocked it over again. It was removed from the Federation group. I'm just trying to make this page match the intention of the discussion with the security group. Nothing else is changing except potentially making sure people are in their right spot on this document.
So, wait a minute, maybe this is a dumb
Mike, please.
Oh, God, what was my question? Oh, when you said they are on the right step, so is this an employee or employees that's been here a long time and never got to that right step?
So right now, we have a variety of employees, some that just got hired this year and some that have been here, like Mr. Payne, for 16 years. Right now, with the language that's in the current agreement, there is no difference between those two sets of people. And that was never the intention. So I'm trying to clean up the language so that years of service are reflected versus somebody who just gets here last month.
Right, so how many steps would the employee or employees have to move up? First of all, how many employees is it?
I got you. So let me go to the first question because I need to do a count for the second. So first of all, I'm purposely not using the word step because that's not in this agreement. What it is years of service, and that's where you see the 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15.
Okay.
So it would be the amount of years. Does that coincide with a step in another agreement? Yes, but there's no steps in this agreement. As far as how many people this agreement covers, we have one school police, one truancy officer. The night staff and the security staff are related, and I believe it would be 11 if we're fully staffed. Is that right, Jeremiah? Okay. Does that answer?
So it's 11 total?
11 plus 2 more, plus a school police and truancy, so 13 total. But the wages will not affect all 13 because most of them have been here less than 5 years.
Okay,
It's really acknowledging the Mr. Paynes, the Officer Federicos, Officer Hubbs and Jackson may have been here more than 5 years, but it's not many people who have been here in security more than 5 years. But again, this 5-year, 10-year language isn't even in what was approved. That's what I'm trying to fix.
Oh, it says 2, 3.
That's the new one.
Okay, so you're just paying years of service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of using the term wage rate, we're essentially switching it to a years of service understanding.
okay.
Cynthia, I forwarded you the email.
Oh, thank you.
But I will still get you a hard copy.
Thank you.
So this will be on the agenda for next Thursday. If the revised agreement is approved, then Mr. Butler and I will do the work to make sure everybody's in the right spot, and hopefully everybody will be happy. Any questions on either that or anything else in human resources?
So the highlighted part that you sent us, what is that about?
On what was on email?
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall what I highlighted.
A lot of stuff in blue.
That was carryover from when the administrators were building that agreement. There's
Oh,
no specific meaning to those highlights right now.
Okay, thank you.
My guess is during the meet and discusses, that was things that they wanted to make sure got fixed or at least addressed when they were speaking.
Okay,
But there's no meaning to it right now.
thank you.
Okay? Sorry. All right. Anything else on human resources? There are no updates for parent-student advisory, no items for policy or property. I'm going to call Jeremiah up to the mic for safety and security. I'm going to grab a card from Ms. Irons, and I'm going to get an update from Mr. Sharon because we are making progress on the first issue of the night.
So, one question.
For me?
So the supplemental contract for 2024, are we talking about the supplementals for being the coach or being the
Yes.
chair? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. All right, there we go. You hear me? All right. Good evening. I'm good. Oh, thank you. I'll make this quick. So I just wanted to go over the projects that were completed. Last time we spoke, I gave you a list of projects that were currently in progress. The administration camera project is complete. Harris School camera is complete.
Delcroft School, project number 1 is complete. Project number 2, K-Center camera project is completed. As stated before, the door alarms are completed. We were working on the camera integration, which is completed. That is done. The door alarms with the email integration on our end for the district, that is done. The only issue that we're running into right now is the problem with the firewall for Avigilon, the server system, to push that notification through the email so we get the notification. And I hope that they can get that finalized by next week. I know that they're talking with Tier 2 support staff right now through Avigilon. So that's the only thing that's stopping us. It's just a firewall issue for that notification to come through the email. As far as staffing goes, we're still interviewing. We hired 1 officer for Sharon Hill, and we're still continuing our interviews. Other than that, that's all I have. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So while we're waiting for the other matters, I do have a matter which does concern all board members. Moving forward, because there's been some issues with board members coming into buildings and so forth. When a board member comes into your building, they should be wearing their ID. If they're not wearing their ID, then they are a parent, and they should be treated as a parent. Once again, when a board member comes into any building, they should be wearing their ID and be treated as a board member. If they do not have their ID, they are treated as a parent, and they would be treated as any other parent that walks in that building. No special treatments, no nothing. Moving to board members who have children in the district. If you're in the building for board member business, then you should not be socializing, doing anything with children in the building, unless the principal or whoever the designee has authorized you to engage with them. If board members' children are violating any code of conduct in your buildings, they get the same treatment as any other student in the building. Are there any questions? Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm glad that we're doing this.
Are there any questions from anybody in the audience about this matter? Dr. Sanchez, would you like to talk about this matter, or I've covered it all? Okay, thank you. Once again, if your child is out of bounds and they're caught, they get suspended. If they leave a building, they're not supposed to come back, and they come in anyway, they get suspended for trespassing. Are there any questions? So moving forward, after this meeting, if anything is violated, then their child or the board member needs to be handled accordingly. We're all adults, and we should move as such. Are there any questions? Comments or concerns? And I will be making this statement again next Thursday as well. Okay, moving forward. Old business. Old business is the MOU for the teachers and their steps. The floor is open for discussion.
I have a question, Madam President.
Please turn your mic on.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, please continue.
I have a question, Madam President. I want to know, why, well, me as a board member, I have not seen the MOU. Has there been a copy of the MOU to the teachers?
The copy of the MOU was forwarded to the teachers by Mr. Butler, myself. Mr. Butler forwarded to the, Mr. Prince. I was CC on it, the president was CC, the vice president, the assistant superintendent, Mr. Diorio, and I believe, Dr. Sanchez. It was forwarded to the Federation. Then Vice President, Association. I'm a Federation person. Sorry. And then Vice President Perry sent it out to all the board members.
Can I clarify that? The MOU was actually sent to us in February. I believe the document you are referencing, Madam President, is the spreadsheet that Mr. Butler put together with the cost. The MOU was given to you by Mr. Diorio, and you sent it to all of us in February.
was in
Actually, February 22nd. We've had it since February 22nd.
Okay, so, because I was thinking it was two MOUs. No, it's just one?
No, there's never been two different MOUs.
Okay. And I have a question for Mr. Butler. Mr. Butler, I'd like to know for the funds, the grant for Ready to Learn. Do we have that grant yet? Has that grant been approved?
I have to check. That's me, not Mr. Butler. I have to check. I will get that before the end of the night.
Okay, and, so if we, can we use this, the funds for other things, for Ready to Learn?
Yes, we talked about that, I want to say February. There was a list of possibilities that were handed out. Sorry, this is the other issue. Yes, that money can be used for about 20 or so different things. Right now, before we got the extra money, we use it for full-day kindergarten, but there are other choices.
There are other choices?
Yes, again, about 20-ish.
Okay. And another grant that is supposed to come our way is the 8 million. You're looking at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't, I'm waiting, I was hoping you were going to clarify. I mean, I'll take 8 million, but I'm waiting for where that's coming from.
Well, I thought that we was going to get a grant for 8 million. No?
There's a grant that we wrote that for about 1.5, and I don't think 8 is a number that's been talked about with subsidy.
I think she means the original 800,000 from Ready to Learn.
Oh, 800,000 or 8 million?
Oh, is that for Ready to Learn too?
Yes.
Okay.
That
okay,
is
I'm
correct.
sorry.
There was an
I getting
original
mixed up.
800 and some thousand that partially funds full-day kindergarten. Sorry, I got thrown off with the 8 million.
Yeah, well, no, that's okay.
No, you made me
Because
happy. I
I got
thought
my
we were getting
words
8
all
million.
all mixed up. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Okay, so, because, I mean, I'm concerned about the teacher steps. And I just want to make sure for myself how I'm going to vote. So, the board is asking for us to pay the teachers from 2012, am I correct? I'm not correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still just bringing them up to their correct years of service.
But that would involve 2012.
It's only going, the movement is only in accordance to those contracted years. But this isn't, we're not going back to bring anyone up.
So how are we going to bring them up if we're not going back?
It's just based off of their years of service. So if they were here in that contracted year,
Right.
then they would move.
So you're saying that teachers could be moved up 2, 3, and 4 steps?
Yes.
By our analysis, potentially 5, but that would be rare.
So how many teachers do we know that can be moved up?
That's what the,
5 and 6 steps.
No, how many teachers in the district?
that's what that spreadsheet was that we got.
That's what the what?
The spreadsheet that we got.
The spreadsheet, what spreadsheet?
So, okay, so I had a question too, but I wanted you to finish. So the spreadsheet that Vice President sent out to us, the one that Mr. Butler forwarded
You
to,
skipping me?
No, I gave you a printed copy too on Saturday.
I must have left it at your house. I think I did. I'm sorry. Go ahead, go ahead, Madam President.
no, finish your questioning, because I have a few questions of my own, so go ahead.
So, I wanted to know,
In the mic, please.
I wanted to know, I forgot my question. Oh, yeah, I said I wanted to know how many teachers are we moving up?
According to my analysis, it would have 183 teachers would be affected, but that number has been revised. It's probably 45 more teachers than what,
45 plus the 183?
yes.
So, I mean, would we be able to financially pay these teachers for them to be on that correct step financially?
Well, as I had reported before, that the original question was, where would the money come from? And my response is that would come from fund balance, or the board could decide that there would be a tax increase, or some other reduction of expenditures in the budget. So that would have to be the decision that would be made by the board.
So 183 times the 40, plus 45 teachers, did you add up the amount of money that we are going to spend to pay these teachers? No? Yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let me just review the steps that have happened since the last meeting. So I had sent out to the 5 people that Ms. Monroe Whitsett said, and that was Ms. Monroe Whitsett, Ms. Perry, Mr. Diorio, Dr. Sanchez, Dr. Ryan. I think that covers it. Oh, yes, that was the initial, I sent that as initial response, just to those members. And then I asked for guidance as far as releasing, when it would be okay for me to release the information to the association. And so I then, I guess a week later, it wasn't quite a week, released the information to the association. And as Ms. Monroe Whitsett stated, Ms. Perry had sent it out to the board members, the same information. And then the next step was that the association would review my spreadsheet, which is a typical process, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So there were 2 scenarios that I sent out. One was covering the period of 17, the contract that was 17 to 20, 2017 to 2020. In that document, there were 2 steps, so that's why my previous reports talked about 2 steps. But then there was another scenario that I prepared that was based on going back to the contract of 2012 to 2017, and then again 2017 to 2020, right? Which in those 2 contracts, there were 4 scenarios that where there were no step movements.
Right.
Right? I got a response back from the association. I reviewed their information, and in some cases, they had individuals that were moving 5, and in a couple scenarios, moving 6 steps to get them on target. So I did another tab to that original information that includes the movement of 2012 to 2022. There was one contract, if you recall, there was that small contract, 2-year contract, after, that covered the period of 2020 to 2022. And that was, I think, if my memory serves me, it was like a hold me over until,
Yeah.
I forget the details of that, but it was.
It's the seven, it's a
20s
1 year.
Yeah, it's a.
20 to 22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20 to
It's a
22,
two-year-
a 2-year contract. So within that contract, there was 1-step movement that did not occur. So
Okay.
that's where the 5 come from. So when I reviewed the analysis that the association sent me back, there were individuals moving 6 steps, right? And then that goes back to, I believe what Mrs. McGowan just said, that, either Mrs. McGowan or Mrs. Perry said, it's for years of service.
Okay.
So for the association, they're looking at getting credit for years of service. Our understanding is that we were looking through contracts, and I thought, the information I was getting was about the 2017 to 2020 contract, because we were talking about no step movements. And as I had reported to Ms. Perry, that it didn't occur to me to go back to 2012 to see what that contract looked like.
Right.
The analysis that was actually sent to the cabinet by Dr. Winder did have a spreadsheet in there that it had calculations of getting individuals on their right step. It did not reference contract periods of time. It just, so there was nothing that triggered me to look and say, oh, we're going back to 2012, until I had a conversation with the president of the union in my office. And he said, oh, no, we're going back to here. I said, that never even occurred to me. So in my initial report, I talked about 2-step movements. That's the reason I was talking about 2-step movements. Because
Right.
I was not under the impression that we were going back to 2012.
Right, I mean, yeah, because I thought that that's what we was going to do at first. We was only going to do 2 steps. But can you give me the amount of the money that we will have to pay these teachers if we do go back to 2012? Of the 183 to plus the 445 teachers?
So let me just do another point of clarification. So it is now my understanding, because there have been a variety of conversations going around, that says there are some individuals that think we're going back to 2012 to do retroactive pay.
Right.
And that's not the case.
Okay.
However, the association is going back to, it appears they're going back to 2012 to capture those step movements that didn't occur
Right.
back then. So, but it's not a conversation that's saying that the association is looking for retro pay back to 2012. It's still going to have a financial impact, moving those
Right,
individuals
but that's what I'm saying.
on steps, but it's not retroactivity in pay going back to 2012. But it is referencing 2012. So I don't want anyone to think that this has nothing to do with the going back to the 2012 contract. Actually, it goes beyond that, because there are only 5 opportunities that did not have a step movement, right? But in some cases, there are folks that are moving 6 steps.
Right.
And then that turns into the conversation about putting people on the right step, whatever the definition of that means. And it's linked to years of service in the district.
So in order for us to, even if we use the fund balance and raise taxes, that's the only way that we can stay above?
Well, right at this moment, that's all we know. We know that the governor has a proposal that has a significant amount of money coming to specific school districts in the Commonwealth. But at this point, that's just a proposal. We can't, that hasn't been voted on to where we know for a fact that we're going to be receiving that money. So we can't have a conversation of wishful thinking. That just doesn't work. So then the reality is that what are the other opportunities do we have to generate more income? And it would be a combination of a tax increase or reducing the fund balance. Or reducing expenditures, I'm sorry, yes. I stay away from reducing expenditures because as I look through the budget document, there essentially is nothing to cut. Programs have been cut over the years, and there's nothing to cut, not unless you're talking about reducing staffing.
Okay, because I would just like to ask the board, how would they feel if we just, because this is really tight for us. And I would like to I would like to know how the board feel if we just move the teachers 2 steps for now.
Can I just make one, before you go into that discussion, there are 3 amounts. The original document I sent had 2 amounts. So the original document was for 2 steps. I said that it would be a increased cost of total of $778,000. $778,000. And prorated for March 1 through June 30th would be $282,567.
280.
$282,567. That includes salary, benefits, and all the payroll costs. Okay? And again, none of these funds are for March to June. There's nothing budgeted for this. So that's why I had mentioned using fund balance to pay for it. Then the second scenario I did going back to September of 2012. And that analysis has a total of $1,192,914. Prorated amount from March to June is $433,216.
I have a question.
Wait a minute.
And I just have one more scenario. So as I mentioned before, I took the changes that the association sent me, and I implemented those for a couple folks. And again, that's where there are people who are getting 5 years, and some getting 6. That analysis has a total of $1,307,380 and a prorated amount of $474,785.
Well, that's what I would like to ask the board. I mean, how would they feel if we just give the teachers just their 2 steps?
So, before we go there, I have a question. So, which version are we talking about? Let's get clarification there first.
What you mean, which
What
version?
verification? Are we going back to the 2012?
Oh,
Are we doing the current
okay.
contract? Are we doing the contract after 2012? Which one are we doing?
My question is,
Can we have the solicitor clarify what we voted on in January?
To put all the teachers on their right steps.
yeah, I have.
All. That means all. All means every step that they are owed. I am very clear about what all means.
Okay,
But Mr. DiOrio?
can I ask my question first?
Sure.
What did the association request? When they gave us that document, they clearly stated the years of service they were talking about.
I can't hear her.
So I can't help that.
Yeah, she is laryngitis. She's saying, what did the association ask when they
So-
presented us the document?
Requesting it. But because I don't remember them requesting to go back to 2012, which is why I was confused when that suddenly came up, because at no time during any of the discussions did they mention 2012. So going back seems like a decision that we didn't necessarily need to make because it hadn't been brought to the table and it wasn't a part of the request.
It was going to the tape.
Not in any of the discussions that I've been in since since I came in December. We talked about 2017.
Well, if I could just say, from my point of view, if you say that there is someone who's owed 6 steps, somewhere you have to create the justification or review the justification, something that makes sense. And if the justification is that somewhere along the line, this person was not given all their years of service, I would still say, in what years did this not occur, so that we had documentation to support this is the reason why we're making this change. So if someone came in, I don't know, someone came in 2017, right? And they were 3 steps off. What occurred that made that individual or that group of people to be 3 steps off? So that's where when I was talking with Mr. Prince, and I pulled out this document that goes back to 2012, 2017. I said, "Are you referring to this?" And he said, "Yes." And then as I look in this, it does say that in 12, 13, freeze. And if you recall, I think I said to you, Ms. McGowan, that, like, why are you using the word freeze? Because it was like negotiated. A freeze says that it's going to be unfrozen or something. And I didn't know that. I didn't know what that meant until I looked at this contract, and it does use the word freeze in here. So it was 12, 13, and then 13, 14. It was a freeze. Those 2 years were freezes. But as another point of reference, the entire district, no one in this district got a pay increase in 2012, 13, or 2013, 14. Nobody got a pay increase. And that's when Corbett was in office.
So, Ms. Harris Johnson has a question. Mr. Yorio, go first.
Yes,
Go ahead. Go ahead. He said you go first, Ms. Harris Johnson.
thank you very much. My question is this: did we and the association agree to discuss bringing teachers up to date on a later contract from 2012 until present? Was that ever put in any of the contracts that we would discuss this at a later date with the freezes and not getting their steps and their columns?
So I know I was on a negotiation during that time, and Jeff, you was there. Yeah, I was on, we were both on most of them.
I know, I was on them also. But what I wanted everybody who was not there to understand, if it was not discussed by the association and the district, that when these freezes went into place, agreed upon by the association, the columns also and the steps, it was never discussed on any of those contracts from 2012 moving forward, that we, the district and the association, would go back and discuss what the freezes and everything was never discussed. So why is it now that it's coming up that we are going to go back to 2012? I thought that we were moving forward from the most current contract.
So, Mr. Ryan, did you have that impression when we were in negotiations?
So I don't recall them asking for the freezes to be rectified, and that's my word, not anybody else's. I do recall that they had brought up during negotiation that because there were past freezes, they were hopeful that subsequent contracts agreed upon would not have freezes. Obviously, with the contracts we've had over the years, some have them and some have not had them. But no, I don't recall any conversation of a rectification of the frozen steps or no step movement during negotiations.
So I would agree with Ms. Harris Johnson and Dr. Ryan. The association did agree upon these freezes and step movement, no step movement. I do not recollect that it was mentioned that they would rectify their steps at a later date in the contract. We are 3 contracts in. I'm not considering the current contract. And so I just want to be clear. I guess this is a question for Bob, like Vice President Perry said, because if the union president is saying that he wants to go back to 2012, then that would make sense with the motion that was passed in January, with all steps being, every teacher being placed on their correct steps. They wanted all their steps. So all doesn't mean just 2 steps, it means all their steps. So how far back are we going? I guess that would be a question. And since nobody.
Since this question has legal ramifications, I would recommend that this be discussed in executive session.
Okay, Mr. Tiorio, thank you.
May I make a-
And we can discuss that. I mean, it should be, this issue should be reviewed for legal ramifications tonight, I believe, before we go into next week's voting meeting.
Can I make a comment, Madam President?
Sure.
So I'd like to make a point of reference, if you can look at the agenda for tonight, that what we're going to be voting on for next week on page 2, number 4, under Human Resources. So the highest step, which steps equal years of service, the highest step we can go up to is 16 currently. And you will notice on number 4, we are hiring a brand-new teacher to come into the district already at step 16 at $80,000 with a bachelor's degree. Last month, we voted to hire a substitute teacher at $95,000 at step 13. So, here's the thing. The board isn't setting a precedence by giving the teachers their step. We already set it by hiring people over and over again, brand new to the district, on their steps. So someone who's never worked here is coming in with a bachelor's degree on step 16. But we're not willing to give our teachers who have worked here for 16 years step 16.
And I understand your point, Madam President. Excuse me, wait, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. I understand your point, Madam Vice President. However, I'm in a district where I've only been there for 2 years, and the first year there, I was at the top of their salary scale. And so because of the way education works at this current time, that's the way the districts are playing ball with every other district. I came in April. School was over in June, and I was on the top level of their salary scale. So everybody who had been there for 20-plus years, or however many years, I was the seniority when it came to salary in my building underneath the principal. So I understand what you're saying, and because individuals like to talk about other individuals' salary, that's what happens. So they find out, or they read board minutes, But this goes on across the country. So it's not like it's a Southeast Delco issue, it's a educational system issue. So I'm still trying to clarify what contract are we going through? Because I have not seen any correspondence from the association saying where they want to start at with the years of service.
We received communication from the union with that information in August.
And we voted it down.
And now we've revisited the same information.
And so are they saying all? Because all goes to 2012.
It is all steps, and I want to ask you, are you saying we should play ball with our teachers and let them look other places that will pay them more money?
No, I'm not asking to play ball. I'm asking the board to be one cohesive and be fiscally responsible for the children who are here at the district. We have a charter school coming in. That's going to take 200 of our students. And so if you're asking for all, and we're saying at least, I'm taking a guess, maybe 5 people are 5 and 6 years, and that's already $1 million. and we're saying that we have 228, well, the 222 that we got to account for, then we're back into the millions again. So you talking about, so that's, I just want to be fiscally responsible. I don't want to tax nobody out their home.
I think we can be fiscally responsible because if we do not give the teachers their proper steps, we're going to be hiring in a whole bunch of new people anyway at those very same steps. So instead of hiring in new people, why not pay the people who are here doing the job, who earned it, as opposed to people who are walking in day one and having to start all over, which, if you remember, we were in a hiring crisis just a year ago, where we had empty classrooms, we had students who were seniors coloring pictures. And if it means that I need to stand in front of the public and say, this is why we raise taxes, I'm willing to do it if that's what is necessary to make sure that our kids have a quality education. And if you're talking about charter schools coming in, the only way that we can fight against those charter schools is by offering a quality education. And you can't do that with an army of substitutes that aren't assigned here. You need teachers. You need dedicated, qualified teachers. We have them. Why risk losing them to make sure that we stay just like every other district across the country, when we have an opportunity to be proactive instead of being reactive, which tends to be our modus operandi?
Okay, so I need someone to make a motion for a recess.
I'll make the motion.
So there's a motion for a recess, there's a second. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
I have one, sorry.
Yes,
Are we recessing to go to executive?
yes.
Can we just close the meeting? 'Cause
No.
we're just not done.
No, we're
No,
not
because we
done.
have to end this conversation.
So we have a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be back.
Oh, we're leaving the room?
Yeah, we're leaving the room. Please meet in the superintendent's office.
I apologize for the delay. I thank those of you who are still in the audience for your patience. We did have to get some legal advice from our solicitor, and we are back. There are 2 public comments on agenda items. I understand that one of them has already been answered. Sorry. Ms. Irons, do you still need to come to the mic? Okay, it's your turn.
Raquel Irons, 83 Burnside Avenue, Sharon Hill. The first part of my question, Ms. Harris Johnson answered, so that was first. My second part is, do we know a roundabout figure? Of course, taxes is going to have to go up, I'm assuming. And do we know if we pass this? Because we still, correct me if I'm wrong, Act 93 is get ready to come up as well, too. And I don't feel as though we should put that to the side or say they're not getting anything either. Because it should be, everybody should get something if we're going to pass this. So I'm just wondering, taxes, how much is it going up?
So we can't tell you how much right now. That's part of the budget discussion. Obviously, the budget season and everything that the district has to pay for is part of a complete package,
Right.
which is what we will be working through. There should be a committee of the whole will be mostly dedicated to the budget presentation and what those numbers may look like. Of course, the final numbers are not final until May or June.
Right.
But right now, there is no direct correlation of if we pass this, it means X on the back end for citizens. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Oh, and yes, Act 93 is up.
And I'm sure that they'll want their steps or raises, rightly so. I don't think we should do one and not for everybody. What was my other question? I think that was it. I think that's it.
Thank you. We are going to have an executive session after this. Just a reminder for everybody in the audience that the board voting meeting next week will be held at the high school. We are having a presentation from the district musical. She said no. And also hopefully an honoring of the track team. Speaking of the track team, the issue that came up earlier, we are working through that process and hopefully we'll be finalizing it very quickly. If there are no other questions from the board, I thank the audience for your patience again. And we will be moving into an executive session, and I need to wait.
I have
Sure.
one question about the girl. When that gets finalized, would she be invited as well on the 27th?
That's my intention.
Thank you.
Yep. Seeing nothing else, thank you, and we need Mr. Sharon and Mr. Rusnov for a little bit more patience.